Now, you heard them say in that video, nobody talks like the King James Bible. Nobody talks like that. We don't talk like that. We need a Bible that talks like we talk. Okay. I want to show you that you have been speaking in King James English all your life. You just didn't know that these terms and phrases came from the King James Bible. So let me read off some. Ever hear somebody use the expression, a law unto himself? That came from the King James Bible. A man after his own heart. That came from the King James Bible. The term a stumbling block. That came from the King James Bible. Like a thief in the night. That expression came from the King James Bible over 400 years ago. Like a thief in the night. A thorn in the flesh. Being all things to all men. That came from the King James Bible. I'm sure we've all heard this one. At your wit's end. That came from the King James Bible. Bottomless pit. We've all used bottomless pit. That came from the King James Bible too. Let's see. A den of thieves. That's a King James Bible phrase. Eat, drink, and be merry. That came from the King James Bible. An eye for an eye. We've all used these expressions. Fallen from grace. We've all used these expressions. These all came from the King James Bible. Fell by the wayside. These are all expressions that came from the King James Bible. Fell flat on his face. That came from the King James Bible too. Fight the good fight. King James Bible. I'm sure we've all heard this one. God forbid. That came from the King James Bible too. And I know you guys have heard this one. Holier than thou. That came from the King James Bible too. How the mighty have fallen is another term that we get from the King James Bible that we use to this day. But they say, oh, this King James Bible, it's not modern. We don't talk like that. Really? Are you sure we don't talk like that? With all of these expressions that I'm reading off here that came from the King James Bible, let's take a look at some more here. In the twinkling of an eye. That came from the King James Bible. The left hand know what thy right hand is doing. Don't let your left hand know what your right hand's doing. That came from the King James Bible too. There's more. Let's see. Money, the love of money is the root of all evil. That came from the King James Bible. Am I my brother's keeper? That came from the King James Bible. Out of the mouth of babes came from the King James Bible. Putting words in her mouth. Ever hear somebody say, don't put words in my mouth? They're talking to King James. That came from the King James Bible. I heard a politician use this in an interview just a couple of days ago. Scapegoat. Scapegoat. That term came from the King James Bible. Seek and ye shall find. Came from the King James Bible. Set thine house in order. That's a King James Bible term. A wolf in sheep's clothing. That's a King James Bible term, guys. You ever hear somebody saying something to take root? Take root? That's a King James Bible term. The blind lead the blind. These are all expressions you and I have used all our lives that came from the King James Bible, but you were never told that you're talking King James when you're using these terms. Can a leopard change his spots? That came from the King James Bible. The lost sheep. That came from the King James Bible. The powers that be. That's another expression that came from the King James Bible. A sign of the times. Don't tell me we don't talk like the King James Bible. You see, they throw in your face thee, thou, and ye, and they ignore all of these terms and expressions that we use every single day of our lives some of these expressions on a daily basis we're using, and they never tell you that's a King James Bible phrase you use there. By the skin of my teeth. Another King James Bible phrase. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. That's a King James Bible phrase, guys. Let's see. To give is better than to receive. That's a King James Bible phrase, guys. Turn the other cheek. That's a King James Bible phrase. Turn the world upside down. That came from the King James Bible too. Two are better than one. That came from the King James also. Two-edged sword. Another King James Bible phrase that we tend to use. Vengeance is mine. That came from the King James Bible, guys. White as snow is another King James Bible phrase. And I'll give you one last one. I'm sure we've all heard this one as well. Woe is me. Yep. All of these terms, and that's just a short list. There's a lot of stuff in the King James Bible. Terms, expressions. How many of you use the word stuff? Stuff. Is that your stuff? Grab me my stuff. Get that stuff over there. We use stuff all the time. Guess what? That's a King James Bible word. Over 400-year-old word. We use it every day. People who hate the King James Bible have used these same terms and expressions.